Money.
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 Chat all about money.
Talk about money management,
Managing my money.
Looking at your money when it comes to money.
putting money aside and going back to money.
Money is one of the key reasons.
Okay, what is happening with your money right now? I feel like I wasted money there, like a money diet or a money plan.
Manage your money wisely in Dubai.
First, when it comes to money,
Save the money
what are you saving this money for? You've got enough money and you have this money.
Money manager.
of money.
You should spend your money.
Can money buy happiness?
I got a one-track mind and I love to be rich. Love to be rich. You might.
Money. Why is it such a stressful conversation to have? To talk about how much we earn, what to do with it, whether we need to save, whether we need to invest. Why is it overwhelming most of us? Here with us is Carol Glynn, who's going to make us feel more confident and more happy with our money. Carol, lovely to have you with us here today. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm excited to chat all about money.
Oh, wonderful. We are going to talk about money management. Now, this is such a huge part of our everyday. I mean, we earn it, we save it, we spend it, probably more than we should. I know I definitely do. But it's something that really overwhelms a lot of us. How do you feel and what do you suggest is the best approach for us to feel more in control of our money?
You know, it's interesting when you said we spend more than we should. I regularly say there are so many shoulds when it comes to money and we always feel like we're doing it wrong because people tell us we should spend less or sometimes even you should spend more. What we should do is bring it back to how we want to live our lives. I talk a lot about aligning your money with your value system. So spending in a way that's actually important to you.
So do I always have to define my values before I go into managing my money?
Do you know what's really interesting? Looking at your money will make your values very clear.
Oh, and reverse.
Yeah. I remember the first time someone said to me, and I would have been like in my early, if not mid-30s, like, what are your values? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, to be a good person, be kind.
Yeah.
Morals.
Yeah, but be a decent person. What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, we have a bit of work to do here. I was like, oh, this is a whole new world for me to dig down that it's so much deeper than that. And it's essentially who you are and what your purpose is in life. And an example of that might be, you know, I love travel. And I will dedicate money to travel because that's important to me. It's part of my value system. Someone might say, you spend way too much money on travel. You should be spending it on something else. And if I don't align my money with my value systems, I might starting feeling guilty about spending that amount of money and maybe I'm doing it wrong and I shouldn't be spending the money in that way. But actually, if I'm being very intentional with my money across all, you know, of the areas and I'm spending in ways that are adding to my life that's really important to me, then what's wrong with that? And that's what I recommend people do is just really looking at what you want to achieve in life and use money as the energy to feed that.
Okay.
How can you use your money to do what's important to you? And then actually very few people go wrong with it.
And when you said intentional with your money, like how do you create intent? Because sometimes spending or saving is super unstructured.
Yes.
Yeah. We're told a percentage to save or a percentage that needs to go on rent or like you said, you shouldn't be spending that much on a holiday.
Yeah.
And personally, I have this habit sometimes of just spending and not monitoring.
Yes.
And you know, there is always that dilemma of should I spend less or save more?
Yes.
They're two very different, you know, scenarios.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We often spend more when we kind of have no reason not to. We just can, especially if you're in, you know, a good position financially and you've got a bit of extra cash. It's not pushing you into debt and something nice crops up. You're like, oh, I'd like that. I'm going to buy it. And very often we feel guilty afterwards. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have saved more. This is the bit that people tend to push back on. It's actually having a plan. So when I work with people, say one-on-one, one of the first things we do is look at what's happening now. So going through ideally at least 6 months of your bank statements, your credit card statements, which can be a very vulnerable place for people. I completely get. But it's purely through that sense of clarity. Looking at, okay, what is happening with your money right now? What do you like? What do you not like? You know, where is it bringing you joy? Where are you like, that's actually not important to me. I feel like I wasted money there. And then create a plan. Traditionally, that would be called a budget. Create a budget. But I've yet to meet someone, even me as an accountant, who actually likes to budget because let's face it, it brings up restriction, restraint, shame. It's like a money diet for or a diet for your money.
Diet.
It's like a money diet. I've done something wrong. I need to reduce.
Yeah.
But actually, I prefer to use language like cash flow plan or a money plan, where I'm going to take what I know. I've got clarity. I know exactly what I'm spending my money on, what I like, what I don't like, and what I want to do for the next 12 months, and map it out and go, okay, this is my earnings. These are my needs. So, your rent, your groceries, your electricity, those kind of things. And then there's the fun stuff. What do I want to do for the next 12 months, and put your money behind it? And build in things like, if there's nothing wrong with shopping, even though we're massively shamed for it, or there's nothing wrong with having nice lunches or going on travel trips, it's about what's actually important to you. And you dedicate an amount to that, and it builds in freedom. And then you become more intentional with it as well, because you're mapping out and you're taking back control. I'm going to spend my money in this way, and I'm deciding what's important to me, and then I'm saving. And this is the amount I'm saving, and I'm okay with that. So then when you do, I know a lot of my clients will have a splurge amount, so that, they want that freedom to go, if they go to the shops and they see something nice, it's okay, I can buy it.
Yeah.
And it's much more fun as well, because then you're buying it without any shame, guilt, worry, regret afterwards. You're like, I've taken care of this, and I can move on with my life.
On the contrary, you feel good because I end up doing that. and I'm like, once I've made the purchase, you end up feeling good. But Carol, tell me if there is a right way to manage this, in terms of, mostly in Dubai, you would find people, let's talk about mid-managers or the middle salary scale of 25,000 to 35,000. Probably these guys would have a family of, 2 dependents, a spouse and a child. What's the best way to manage money for someone in that bracket?
The way that I help people say money plan, my favorite one is the 50-30-20 rule. I usually put 20 in because 20 is the savings piece first. But let's call it, traditionally, it's 50-30-20 rule. And if you've ever come across that one. And I even replace the word rule, because again, that's restriction, right? With benchmark.
Okay.
So I would take their salary and say, okay, back to that, for the last 6 months or a year, if you can get the information, how much of your salary have you been spending on your needs? The rule of thumb is up to 50% of your salary on your needs. So that would be your housing, your electricity, your phones, probably your transport to work. In this region, school fees will come under that. Doesn't in a lot of places, but we need to pay. Yeah. So 50%, and then up to 30% on your wants or the fun stuff.
Okay.
So eating out, shopping, travel, taxis, gym, it can be things that you want to do, but you don't need to. Now, sometimes people push back on that with me and say, well, no, but I need to go to the gym. It's really important to me. And you can say, okay, well, if you want to push that into your 50%, that's fine. Or you can just have it as a high priority want and go, the first line when I go into my wants line is gym. And then, you rank it down from there. And then if you are within those benchmarks, ideally, then you're saving at least 20% of your salary towards your future self.
So when you say saving,
yes,
is that cash hoarding, or are you saying it's investing?
Yeah. So then we take the savings and we look at, okay, exactly that. What is it? Because traditionally we say savings. I say towards your future self.
Okay.
And that is much more broad than just saving, because sometimes people say saving, sometimes people say investing, and then there's confusion over the differentiation between them. So I say something that my future self is going to benefit from. Now that could be paying off debt, if you have debt. It could be my one and only, going back to the shoulds, my one and only should when it comes to finances is having what, again, traditionally would be called a rainy day fund or an emergency fund. But again, that language, it's not very motivating, is it? Who wants to...
Emergency fund.
Emergency. And then again,
it's like a graveyard fund.
Exactly. You're nearly terrified to use it because that means something bad has happened. I call it a cash cushion. Because it just means no matter what happens, I'm going to soft landing. I can figure it out with my money and move on with my life. And also that's an amount for positive things. So it might be a course came up you wanted to do, you didn't have in your budget, but you've got money set aside for unexpected events. That's my one and only should, having that amount there.
So in order to do the 50, 30, 20, you said we have to go back into history.
Yes.
Now, I did this exercise with my husband before our wedding.
Well...
And we were like, oh my God, we spend so much on food. Because I think just delivery apps here are just like, Ching and InstaShop. And we were
convenience.
Just like, convenience. We spend on, that's exactly right. We spend on convenience. But we were like, oh my God, we spend on food, so much on food. Yeah. Are we overeating? Or is it like, what do we do?
Because I do this exercise with all of my clients, and I need to do the maths, but if I was to hazard a guess, I would say probably, at least 95% of people, one of their highest numbers past, rent and things like that is eating out.
Oh.
And it's actually been statistically, the research has been done where it has been shown as one of the highest numbers on people's budgets worldwide, and also the number one thing people regret is eating out. Now, I think if we're looking at here in this region, bringing it back to value system, I look at that and people automatically go, oh my God, that is so much. Now, we separate, say, Deliveroo or, Talabat, the convenience deliveries from eating out in restaurants. If we look at the eating out in restaurants, when I'm working with people, I say, well, what is that? Like, why do you do that? And here, a lot of it is, that's where I see my friends. That's where I socialize. That's where we relax. For me, with my kids, that's where we're actually just spending time together and I actually get them to sit down and I can talk to them. It's connection. The value there is connection.
Okay.
So that's where we look at, okay, and connection's important, especially for a lot of us who are here without our broader families. And our friends become our family, then is that something you want to invest in? Then, okay, let's look at the right number for you so that you can still continue to do that, but at a number that makes sense for you in your overall income bracket.
We're meant to follow that. So I've never gone to a restaurant with, hey, I'm going to spend 1,000 dirham. You just end up going there and you just order stuff and then all of a sudden the bill comes, you're in that spot. And I think that's how it kind of ranked up. So when we did that exercise, it was quite eye-opening.
Because it brings that consciousness to it. It brings that awareness to it. And then you become more intentional. It's like, because when you know better, you do better. You know, that Maya Angelou thing. So, and this is where, when you're doing that exercise, like you described with your husband, and let's sit down and look, traditionally, and very often people do that, and we go into a lot of negative self-talk. Should have, could have, would have. Why did we do that? What a waste. And look, we didn't know any better. And I just said, no, the purpose is clarity.
Okay.
Just understanding it, drop the self-judgment. There's nothing we can do about the past. If that doesn't, that's where what do you like, what do you not like? If you don't like that and you don't like how that feels to see that number there and you look back and go, you know what, I didn't need to order all of those or be there for 5 hours. We just did because I'll happily reduce that because I would rather take that X amount of money and put it towards. And it doesn't have to be towards savings. It can be towards, well, actually, I've not been spending on something that was important to me because I thought I couldn't afford it or wasn't right.
Yeah.
I'd rather reduce that and increase that.
Okay.
And that's where the intention comes in. And building freedom into it, not just reduce so you can save for this unknown future.
Okay. Ali, did you do that exercise for your wedding?
I have done this with my wife as well.
Did you?
But Robyn, day 3 of my wedding,
Yeah.
and Rida is like, I think in this relationship, I'm the saver and you're the spender.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's right. So even if you have the clarity, right, it really
Balance.
works like a magic for you because you are true to yourself.
Yes.
And then your partner and you both know and you're aligned. Okay, this is how it will work.
It's balance. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
balance.
And you accept. Like I accept some things and he accepts some things. I'm like, great, it's working.
Exactly. And if it's working, what's the problem?
That's not, yeah.
Because we're shamed into, you shouldn't have takeaway, you shouldn't have coffees, you shouldn't be eating out, you shouldn't. Well, like, says who? The only time I'd say you shouldn't is like if you're forcing yourself into debt, then okay, we need to adjust. But if you're doing all that and you're happy and you know you're doing it and you're okay with it and you're saving for your future self, then what's the issue?
In terms of how a couple gets into this relationship and managing money together, what's the best time to do that and how the couple should go, about this?
Yeah. Great question. And it's great that both of you have done that because you're right. Most couples don't. And sometimes until well after they're married. I spoke to someone a while ago and they were 5 years married and about to have their second child and they still didn't know what each other earned. It was such a taboo subject.
It's so taboo. I find it as taboo as sex. But obviously, we can't talk about sex in this region. But it's like one of those topics that no one talks about, but that's part of their everyday.
It's integral into our lives. But they say the 3 things people fight about most but don't talk about: sex, politics and money.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you're talking about divorces, right? Money is one of the key reasons why it happens.
Why is that? I mean,
sometimes it's cultural. Sometimes very often it is the female is intimidated to talk about it because we as women have been kind of stereotyped and made to feel like we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to money. Sometimes people are quite just super private about their salaries and really uncomfortable about talking about it.
In our culture, asking the salary of a man is just like asking a woman their age.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's quite similar.
Yeah, so sometimes it's cultural, and we have to be sensitive to
Yeah.
that. And that's why, how to your question, like how we approach those conversations are really important, because, and exactly what you said, it is the number one cause of arguments in relationships worldwide, and that's cross-cultural, all kind of metrics. The best conversations you can have is actually not about the numbers and how you spend your money. It's more the kind of mindset and feelings around money, which people can often be surprised at. It's, tell me about your lifestyle growing up. Tell me what does money mean to you? What does money mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because what money means to us really impacts how we behave with it. And then you understand the person more when you ask that question, rather than why do you spend so much on, let's say the cliche with men would be watches or cars or, and with women it's why shopping and beauty, right? They're cliches, but
It's true.
well, let's face it, it's true. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but we judge each other first.
Yeah.
Because we don't maybe value the car and the watch in that instance, and he doesn't value the shopping and the beauty, but it doesn't mean it's not invaluable to that person. Understanding how women and men feel about and behave with money and the representation of what money is can be very, very different. I regularly, when I do talks on money, and I have, like a Mentimeter, and I'll ask the question, what does money mean to you? When there is women in the room, and definitely if there's only women in the room, freedom.
For women.
I was thinking that.
Really?
Yes, I was just about to say it.
Freedom. Freedom, security.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for men, and there's so much research on this as well that I talk to, where for men, it's more about power. It's much more associated to their self-worth.
Yeah.
Am I a successful husband? Am I a good provider for my family? Am I successful in my career? And that brings its own pressures, of course. So if you've got a man and a woman who've come together and never talked about this, and then money becomes a huge topic when they're combined, and then kids come along, and the ever-increasing cost of living, people are feeling pressure. He's looking at it as a very kind of factual. Men will often say like it's a means to an end. It has a purpose. It's very tactical. We need to save. We need to invest. We need to do all these things. Whereas for women, they're coming at it a more emotional side of its security, its independence, its freedom. And if you don't know, you're looking at it from different angles. Of course, arguments happen because you don't understand where each other are coming from. And that's why I say, forget the spreadsheets, forget the bank statements. Start there. Understand each other first when it comes to money. And then you can have the conversations about how do we budget, because you can understand where the other person's coming
being
from.
a newlywed, and I'm sure there would be a lot of people out there who would have this question as well. Is there a right split of financial responsibility between a man and woman in a marriage? Is it 50-50? Is it, because there's
you're outnumbered here, Ali.
because Robyn, there is that provider mentality with
true.
men. Now, women, obviously, they would want that freedom, stability as well, and they would want to pitch in, obviously. And then there is always that dilemma of 50-50, who should do more, less. Then there's a guilt as well. Like, the other party is doing a bit more. Most people don't say it, but I'm telling you, there is that guilt.
They'll feel it.
So what's the best way?
So I don't ever believe in hard and fast rules. That's why I say personal finance is personal finance for a reason. It's personal. And that is where, again, it comes back to that same question. What does money mean to you? What do you want to happen in this relationship? What is your expectations? What is his expectations? And you come together with that shared kind of goal. Because a lot of couples don't even talk about that. Maybe she has an expectation that he will always provide and eventually she'll stay home. And he's like, no, I met her and she was working. Why would she stop working? We're in this together, or vice versa. It can happen in just one example. So it's about communication again. What is your expectations from this relationship financially? Do you plan to continue working at this rate forever? What are your ambitions? What do you expect from me to contribute? Because there is no one real, hard and fast way that works for everyone. Because again, it's back to culture, personality, history, even the expectations that we've been brought up, even within cultures. It's not like you can say in this culture, the men always do this and the women always do this. You're going to have different family values and things and personalities within that. So it comes back again to communication. And what I would say is when couples come together, and let's assume both are working, then there is that conversation around, well, how much do I contribute to the shared expenses? So it might be mortgages, kids' fees, things like that. And how much do you contribute? That's a really important conversation.
Who leads that? Because I feel like women tend to approach that conversation more than a man coming to a woman.
I think so, yeah. I find men tend to feel more guilty about raising that question because they have been, and this is global, conditioned to believe that they should be providing and they feel guilty and that almost like they've failed if they need her to contribute. Again, look, that's a generalization.
We feel more responsible. We definitely feel more responsible internally that this is what we are there for. You know, it's almost like that.
I've had that men tell me conversations because in my household, I was the higher earner. And men often talk to me about it, like how did that kind of work? And I've had, and you know, very contemplative, quite a few men will say, God, if I wasn't the one earning the money, what would be the point of me?
Yeah.
What would I do?
Really?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
I would say most men do. It's including myself.
Right. And how would you suggest either the male or the female approach this?
Very delicately.
So we're tiptoeing? So
no, not tiptoeing. I think when I say delicately, I think it's more with an open mind to actually ask questions rather than express your expectations.
And set a meeting, not just randomly go up to, hey,
oh yeah,
let's talk
well, I think
about your finances.
If you're at that point, you probably do know your partner quite well as to how they might react to something that's quite a big conversation. So, you know, knowing your person. But yeah, saying, look, do you know what? I actually was thinking about, you know, longer term, our future and finances. And I think we need to talk about it. You know, I just want to make sure that we're doing everything well. And I'm really interested in hearing what you want to do or what your intentions are. I don't think it would ever go down too well if either person comes on and goes, this is how it's going to be. You're going to be the breadwinner forever and I'm quitting my job. Be like, whoa. You know, so, and I think listening is one of the biggest things. And that comes like any part of a relationship. The earlier you do that, the better. And also making sure you're open to change because we all evolve, we grow, we change, you know, our situations
Your financials change.
Your financials change. Life happens. Sometimes, and it's one thing I will say, you know, if you go back to the cliche of he works and she doesn't, you know, I mean, it is historically that's been the main cultural and in this region it has been up, obviously not now as much, but when I moved here almost 16 years ago, I was a rare person, a female. Like when I met new couples, they actually very often didn't even ask me what I do. They assumed I don't work. But I will say, whether it's the man who's a house husband or the female, always have a way to turn income on. Kind of back to that, you know, have an emergency fund. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. People...
A question on emergency funds.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we all have credit cards. And then we have these exceptional limits, right? I mean, it could be completely wrong, but I've seen people who see their credit cards as their emergency funds.
Yes.
Is that the best way to go about this?
No.
I don't have a credit card.
You don't have a credit card?
I got rid of it 3 years ago because I was treating it like my savings account.
Yes, people do that all the time. So they would have crazy limits and they'll be like, if, you know, things go south, we will end up using the credit card. And now we have tabbies and whatnot, right? That you can make these payments.
Pay later.
Yes, buy now, pay later.
Yeah.
So what do you advise?
So I am a big fan of credit cards, especially in this region where we get amazing offers with like flights and deals and all sorts. But only if you are using it within your means. So you pay it off in full every month. If you're not paying your credit card off in full every month, it's not worth any amount of points or benefits that are on it because the interest rates here, a lot of people aren't aware of how high they are. So the kind of internationally, let's say the average might be up to 21%. Here it could be over 50. What's advertised is like it might be 3%, but you need to multiply that by 12 because that's 3% per month. So they're extortionately expensive when it comes to interest. So you need to, I use mine, I call it's like an asset because I use mine, I put all my expenses on my credit card, but I pay it out in full every month. I get miles from my thing, and I pay for my flights almost sometimes in full to Ireland every year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
My
good.
husband does that.
which is
So my husband manages the credit card.
I
and gets
exactly do the
miles.
same thing. What Carol does.
Yeah, my
which is
husband does
great. But only, if I wasn't paying that off every month, then I would pay more in interest than the flight would cost
Yeah.
me. That's the thing. So you need to be able to manage it so it's paid off in full every month. But as a source of emergency, well, what you're putting yourself at risk of, you're already in an emergency, and then you're putting yourself into debt. And you're putting yourself into the most expensive debt that you can find. And I often call it having credit card debt, especially in regions where you've got very high interest on them. I call it like financial quicksand. Like a lot of people come to me and say, Carol, I'm paying off, but it's just not going away. I feel like I'm getting nowhere, and I don't understand why. It's because the interest rates are so high.
Mm.
And you're drowning in it.
You're drowning in it. Yeah.
That's why I got rid of it, because I was like, you know what? I was putting money aside, but I wasn't treating it like an asset.
If you do it monthly and manage it well, as she said, there are a lot of benefits.
It works. That's what I'm saying. My husband does that. So I'm like, great.
Well,
You
you're
do
getting
all
the
our
benefit through
flights
him.
and our points and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's it. And not everyone has a credit card. The only other reason I say a credit card's a good idea is it has extra fraud protections that your debit card would not have. So if you're doing online transactions, like most flight bookings are online, if you do happen to have your card defrauded, it's much easier to get the money back than if you're defrauded on your debit card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that other reason.
That's good to know.
Yeah. There is other benefits to it. But even at that, it's always only if you can manage it. And another way to manage it well, if you are worried that you might slip into bad habits or whatever with it, is keep the limit super low. You can just call the bank and say, I want my limit, ideally below your salary, so that you can never spend more than your salary. But if you are even more worried, reduce it even lower. Yeah, so I would say, when going back to your question on the emergency fund, the ideal is a cash amount in an easily accessible bank account that is hopefully earning interest. But if it's not, still leave it in cash, because sometimes people
Cash
will
is
ask,
better than credit card.
oh, without a doubt.
Always.
You know, I know I said I don't go hard and fast rules,
Yeah.
but that is another one. I'm contradicting myself now. That is another one. Yes, cash is always better than credit card, because you're just adding more financial pressure to an already, I would assume,
For a later
problem.
stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's going to cost you so much more than if you think about, and again, it's a mindset piece. So sometimes people will say, but the cash is sitting there doing nothing and it's losing interest, or it's losing value to inflation. This is why we want to get it with an interest bearing account.
I used to cash hoard. So I used to cash hoard a lot, and it was convenient because I was cash hoarding right before COVID hit.
So it served you.
So it served
Good
me.
timing.
Yeah.
Good timing. So part of the cash hoarding was I realized, how else can I, save the money? But at the same time, while I'm still thinking where to invest it.
Yes,
But in this region, I didn't find many banks have interest.
they do now. So a few years ago, globally, the interest rates were so low, it wasn't anywhere. But actually here, there's amazing, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention banks, but
No, yeah, you can.
that's fine.
Yeah.
So for example, WIO bank is relatively new. It is, if you transfer your salary into WIO, at a minimum of 15,000 per month, they're currently giving 6% per year interest rate.
Is it one of those online banks?
It's an online bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
I know
Yeah.
it from the purple branding. It's in Abu Dhabi, right?
It's in Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
backed bank. It's an online bank, so it doesn't have any physical stores.
Yep.
But yeah,
But they're good.
yeah, I
6%
use
great.
them. 6% is amazing. And even if you don't transfer your salary, I mean, it varies, of course. They change their rates all the time. But for the last few months, it's been 6% on a salary account. Or you can get 4.5% at the minute, because obviously it will change over time, on just your standard. And the reason, not that I want to promote WIO but too much, but the reason I like WIO as well is because you have savings pots where you can have separate accounts for, like, my emergency fund, my travel fund, my, long-term savings, and you've got full clarity, because I'm a big fan of having clarity around your money. And it's all online, so it's super convenient. But yes, when we are cash hoarding, we do that a lot as women, not just women, men too, because we're a bit nervous about investing, don't know what to do. It's a very kind of murky area for a lot of people. Where for women in particular, cash hoarding is very, very common, because it comes back to security and freedom.
I've stopped it now, but I did go through a phase where I was cash hoarding.
Which is not a bad thing because it means you're saving and the money is there. And then it's just about leveling up. It's like anything in life, right? We start at a point and we get better and we improve and we grow. And if you're saving, then that's fantastic.
But you almost mentioned saving into investments as well, right? Cash hoarding means cash is just sitting and then you're just saving it.
And it was in the bank. It was just
just in the bank.
I was still spending. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't not spending, but I was spending less than I was saving.
A lot of women do that. Is that the smarter way to do things in terms of you just keep cash so that you have that freedom and independence, or you just might as well invest it?
First of all, you need to acknowledge what an amazing job you've done to have these savings. Because we don't often do that. We're like, oh, it's not enough. But look at what you have. This is fantastic. Now let's give it a purpose. Back to my one and only should of an emergency fund. What is that for you? Okay, let's put that aside into WEO, for example, or another bank that's giving you nice interest. Amazing. What's the rest of it for? What are your financial goals? What are you saving this money for? Most people will say, retirement, ultimately, let's face it. And I say, okay. But no one ever says retirement with excitement.
Yeah. No. Yes. No, we don't. It just feels like we have to do it.
Exactly. It's another adulting task I have to do.
Yeah, I have to do, yes.
Yeah, and it's another drain on my money that, I could be spending in nicer areas and I still don't even know if I'm doing it right, and now I feel even worse about myself. So again, it's back to language where I say, well, what about if I said we put that money towards your financial freedom?
That sounds great.
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
Winning.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's like when you get to a point where you don't have to work anymore. You've got enough money in savings, investments, whatever language you want to use, so that you work because you want to, not because you have to. Or retirement, okay. Or maybe you can't work anymore and you have this money. So, but financial freedom is so much more exciting. And
so much more exciting.
Yeah.
Like it's liberating even saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why the language and the purpose behind it. And then to your point of what do you do with it, then it's actually more exciting to look at investment ways, whether that's property, stock market, to go, okay, well now I wanted to do something because I wanted to do something that is important to me.
Speaking of something,
Yeah.
If I get 1,000 dirhams extra every month, what should I do with it?
You're asking me a should again.
50, 20, 30. Can you just split that? Can you split the extra? Would you say if you're earning more?
So again, it comes back to personal, right?
Yeah.
So you've got an extra 1,000 dirhams.
Yeah.
Every person is on a different, playing field. So if you're someone who is like, do you know what, I have all my goals in place. I'm saving towards my financial freedom. Everything's amazing. I'm being really healthy. Then I would say, you know what, 1,000 dirhams, why not do something fun with it?
Okay.
We don't always have to be so serious with money.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. Money is there. It's just an energy. We put so much weight and heaviness around it that we should always do the right thing. And ultimately, we have to live and have fun. But if you're someone who came to me and said, I've got a massive amount of credit card debt and I'm drowning in
might as well pay for it.
then I'd say, you know what, put it off the credit card bill because your future self will benefit from that and it'll get you that bit further. So it depends on the individual.
It's such a stressor, you're right. Everyone thinks of money as a stressor, not something that's meant to liberate you. And going back to the money, like when you get a bonus, like it's exciting to think about it, and then you get the bonus, then you're kind of stressed of what to do with it.
Yeah.
Should I be spending it? Am I supposed to invest? Am I meant to save? And then you're just a bit paralyzed.
Yeah, and you feel the weight of the responsibility of it, which sometimes people will say, oh, what a hard problem to have, oh, you've got money, you don't know what to do with it. But people underestimate the stress that any money decision causes. And there's so much responsibility. And I think out here as well, I was only talking to a lady last week about how she said being out here, and of course it's summertime, a lot of us are going home. And then the questions of, oh, you must be doing really well out there. You must be really smart with your money. I know in Ireland, there's this conception of like, when are you coming home to buy a house? Because we're obsessed with houses in Ireland. When are you coming home to buy a house? You must be making so much money out there. You'd be ready to buy a house in cash. And the pressure that puts on someone, because we all know the reality here, maybe 30 years ago, that was the case. Now, not many people can actually operate to that level to go home in 5 years and buy a cash house, especially in Ireland with the prices.
So you're saying the more planning, the more structured, the more financial freedom you'll have, rather than just kind of spending as you go. Because some people get really stressed from structure of money.
Yeah. And I don't believe in like overstructuring. I believe in a plan, but that plan has to be flexible. So this is another one where I just think I have like this aversion to structured set budgets, probably from my CFO days where you were given a budget and told to implement it. And that's why it doesn't feel like structured when you're the one deciding it as well. No one's telling you this is how you should spend your money. You've decided and then move on with your life. So you're not rigid.
And when you talk about planning and budgeting, I mean, I, for one, I'm someone who would go on Excel and have my expenses planned out.
Really? I didn't know that.
Should people do that? Because it gives me a lot of clarity. Should people do that, or it should be mental maths, or it should be paper maths? Is there a right way to do it?
The right way is what works for you.
Okay.
So some people will come and say, I have an app on my phone and every time I spend, I log it. I personally could think of nothing worse. That would drive me. What? Because then I'd lose track after. I'd miss one and then like, no. And they say, you know, my partner says, I'm too strict with this. I shouldn't be doing it. Does it stress you out? No. Does it actually de-stress you? Yes. Why not?
In Dubai, you would hear this a lot that Dubai is expensive, right? You being, you know, the money manager expert, is it really expensive if you do manage your money wisely? And what's the best way to manage your money wisely in Dubai?
And expensive is a relative term, right? Something I might find expensive, someone else might be like, what? That's really cheap. Okay, so again, it comes back to your value on something and your earnings, of course. You know, you've got different income brackets. Some things are more accessible than to some and to others. One thing I have found, being in this country almost 16 years, and one thing I like about it, you can live whatever lifestyle you want here. You know,
very true.
People do assume, oh, we're all out there on the, you know, on the yachts and the Ferraris, and that's the only option here.
No,
it's not, and that's fine if you can afford that, and that's what makes you happy. Go do it. No shame in it. But I choose my lifestyle based on my value system, what's important to me, what I want to expose my kids to, and our family value system, balanced with what I can afford. So, you know, we have so many ways here of saving money, like The Entertainer, and there's apps coming up all the time about saving, which we don't get in other countries.
Like just to add, I mean, as a recruiter, I know this, that it's the people that I've placed, the people I've worked with, candidates I've spoken to, 30% of whatever you earn, or 35%, is spent on your rents. Yeah. And that's what I meant by expensive, right? So
rental is expensive here. Now, the rule of thumb for your housing, and more so mortgage, would be up to 30% of your income goes on that.
On your house?
On your house. I tend to say if it's rental, ideally you want to keep that to about 20% if you plan to purchase a house in the future, so you can save a bit more. But then we also have to balance that with reality. You know, rents are expensive here now. And that's where it comes down to, it's important to be intentional, to go, okay, my rent has gone up. Do I want to continue with this? And so I love the cash flow plan, because you can do a scenario based. If I accept the rental increase and stay in the house, let me plug it into my plan. What does it do? Can I tweak other things? Because I'll give you a personal example. Where I live, it's really important to me to stay in that place because my kids can get themselves to school. And that's an important thing for me, their independence, that kind of normality. And they walk to school and all their friends are in the community. So I ended up, I moved recently and I paid more to be in that location. But that's intentional. Other people might say, that's ridiculous, Carol, because you could have lived here for less. But what am I foregoing? I don't want to be on the roads. They miss their community, you know, whatever it might be. I make that intentional decision, and I might reduce spending in another area to allow for that. And that's where it comes back to. And there's no point in fighting against it. Like, what we can complain all day long about, oh, the rents are ridiculous. Yes, we should. But at the end of the day, what can we do? You just can only spend your money in a way that works best for you.
We did that as well, moving on the Palm. We paid, a little bit went into lifestyle. Like, I have some days that work from home. I have a puppy that loves walking on the pet-friendly beach. So we put a little bit more into the area because that's what works for us, and that's what was important. And
that's back to living in line with your values.
Yeah.
So you put your money behind what actually works for you as a family, and that makes sense for you. Someone else might say, oh no, because they don't have a dog or they don't care about that. They're happy to save money to live somewhere totally different because their lifestyle is different. Their value system is different, and that's okay for them.
Carol, that's amazing. Honestly, you've given us so much. Managing money that is mapped to your value system and to have open conversations. If people wanted to contact you, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
I'm very active on Instagram at Conscious Finance Coaching, LinkedIn, my name, Carol Glynn, but all the usual places, my website, consciousfinancecoaching.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you, Robyn. It was
This
great.
was awesome. Make sure you subscribe to our social channels at ChatGIG on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Catch you at our next episode.